Subject here this morning. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Keep God's commandment, for this is the whole duty of man. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. For this is, when we fear God and we keep his commandment, this is the whole duty of man. And I want you to just remember that for a moment. Don't we all just love it when a story is either being told by you or me? When a story turns out and has a happy ending. But every story that we tell, even if it's our own life stories, they don't always end the way it started out. Some start out rocky. Others start out just good and mellow. We talk about our childhood days when we were young. We could bring up all the joys and all the good times and all the fun that we had. I remember when I used to could just throw a rock of a great distance. I could get a baseball or softball and throw it, and people used to come out there in the field and just watch me throw. All right. Every now and then I meet some old friends, and they say, Brother Thomas, some say still, some say superstar. They say, can you still throw a rock the way you used to? Can you throw a baseball the way that you used to? I look at them and I say, well, we all change. You know, we're not going to remain who we were at first. This body is going to take on a change. So the old seal ain't what it used to be. You know, even you look at your life and you say, well, you're not the person you used to be. There used to be times in your young days, you go into some kind of a club. Some of them make a grand entrance. They come in doing the snake. Some come in moonwalking and all of these kinds of things. They make grand entrance. But there's some old people, even today, they still have their great challenges. They can still do some of the things that they used to do. Sometimes, in some cases, it just don't look good. Amen. We were watching Tyler Wilson on the BET Award. Old man still got it. Amen. Sister Thomas look at him and all she do is laugh. I said, baby, you got it. Ain't nobody else got it. But, you know, you got people. You know, they got all of these kinds of intangibles. They got things going on in their life. You know, things that some of us just don't have. Many times you look at our life, we don't want to be the person that we used to be years ago. Some of us was known as adulterers, fornicators, liars, murderers. You don't want people to still be talking about you within the next 40 years from now, and now it's been 40 years already, and you're still the same person. People expect change. They want to see you do better. They hope you do better. They pray that you do better. So let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. The greatest thing in this world is that we learn to fear God and we keep his commandments. His commandments sometimes they seem strange. They sometimes seem almost impossible. Because some of us, we just are not ready to change. We can never mention eternity enough. Because one day, that's where we're going to all be. There are only two and we cannot go to both of them. There is heaven. There is the eternal pits of a devil's hell. God has made us free moral agents that we can decide as to where we want to spend our eternity. Eternity and where we spend it is going to be based upon the life that we live down here. We choose to enjoy and love this sinful life in this pleasurable moment that only lasts for a short time. The next moment we wake up, we're going to find ourselves standing before God at judgment. The books being opened. The stories of our lives being told. Certainly we don't want to hear him say, "Depart from me, you everlasting cursed, into a devil's fire," which has been prepared for the devil and all of his angels. People who choose to follow the devil. There are some positions in life that we don't want to find ourselves. We don't want to be in certain places and doing certain things, and we don't want the story of our life to end in that we did not worship and serve and fear the Lord. But some of our lives are going to end that way. You think about man. We are sinful in our nature. Every time we think about things and desires and pleasures on this land, it affects us. We have to deal with it. Sometimes these things, they overwhelm us. Sometimes they catch us at moments that we're not as strong. And all the while we live, we're going to be challenged by worldly desires. I desire, we shouldn't want to be murderers. We should not want to be liars, fornicators, adulterers. We should not want to be gay, lesbians, homosexual, bisexual. We shouldn't want to be that. And we need to stop using the old complaint as to what some say. I was born this way. You weren't born with a whiskey bottle in your mouth. Amen. So you can't say that. You weren't born committing adultery. So you can't say I was just born this way. You came and I came into this world in pure innocence. Sometimes something in life happens. It changed the way and the person who we are and who God made us to be. There used to be times we wondered why children, some of them, acted the way that they were acting. Science was always trying to figure out and come up with different medicines and drugs that can help solve these problems. ADHS and all of this, back then they didn't have all that. Even when a child ran like the way some run today, we just thought that was just a happy child. They never fixed them up on medications and all of this. But now the world seems that it has the answer for almost everything. It offers them drugs and it gives them a check. Parents are happy because they're now getting a check. Another income, that. Well, that's the way the world is. There's nothing wrong with it. You're not in sin because you received a check. There's nothing wrong with that. The child needs help, get the child some help. Amen. But then there are others who were born now these days that in our modern time that things are now picked up and better discovered. You used to wonder why some came out handicapped and with their deficiencies. Sometimes you come to find out because it was because some incest nature. Some freaky uncle or dad is running through the house messing with young girls. Some neighbor across the street. Some of your own family members. Child came out handicapped and you try to figure out why is this happening. Later on you discover that some came out like this because parents was didn't really want to have a child at the time, and by the time birth control pill was given to our black sisters, some didn't want to have the baby, so they tried to keep taking the birth control pill that they thought was working. Or even if they thought that it would work, they started taking birth control pills and it affected the baby. Some even took birth control pills before that because it affected their bodies, and then now the baby came out disordered. There are many different reasons. We try to figure out what happened.
Yes.
Children that turn out gay, lesbian, homosexual, bisexual. We try to figure out what went wrong. They're holding up banners and they're marching and they're saying, we want our rights. Many of them are saying, I was born this way. You were not born that way. So many times if you just stand up and tell the story, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. By the time you lay out everything on the table and you began in that great discussion, you began to talk and to ask them what happened, what may have happened. If they ever felt comfortable with someone, they would sit there and they would tell you that this uncle, he came to the house on his knees at night and he would always crawl into my room and crawl into my bed. This daddy that supposed to be my father, he was just always, when mama would leave her, even when she was there, all kinds of reasons. The babysitter was always touching on me. There would be male or female, causing you to act and react and become the person who you are. You were not born that way. We choose the natures of sin. We choose who we want to become. We do the thing that affects us and we become totally affectionate by it. Some of these things are not our fault. But your abuser, he sat there and may have covered your mouth. He told you if you ever told it, he would kill you. Some of them came offering you candies and monies and all of these kind of, and rubbing and touching on you till that you finally gave in. Now you think it's your fault. Every time you think about that old evil monster that caused all of your problems that you now have, this is the reason you can't rest at night. The only thing you thought that could take this thing away was that he died or she died or you died. Many of our young people, they're taking away their own life because they couldn't live with the pain, they couldn't live with the agony, they couldn't live with the shame. Because now they believe it was all their fault. Even while the evil monster is dead, they thought that would just end it all, but they yet wake up in the morning and in the night. Something that they can never erase from their mind. And you say, well, how can these things happen that God can come into their life and help to change their life? There is only going to be the God in heaven that is going to change them. No matter how many psychiatrists we drive them to or they drive themselves unto, if God is not there, it's never going to work. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Let us fear God and keep his commandment. Many times you think about Joe Paterno. You think about Jerry Sandusky. These are names that I'm sure some of us remember. I just want to say it like that first of all. Joe Paterno and Jerry Sandusky. Joe Paterno, he used to be one of my favorite football coaches. He coached at Penn State, Nittany Lions, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He coached for 46 years for that same college team. But in the year of 2000, 2011, all of the allegations were starting to come out. That Jerry Sandusky had molested these college players during their freshman and sophomore season, and some lasted even longer. You got a pervert in your home, and you don't even know it. Someone just waiting for you to fall asleep. Someone who's been torturing your life daily and forever. Sure, these was young men coming out of high school, entering into college. I'm sure he, being the coach, Sandusky that is, he would probably tell them, give them promises that, look, I can help you get into the NFL. Started giving them monies and all of this, letting them drive his car and all of the other, and touching on the little boys and all. You know, they're grown enough to understand, but they're still children. And now they're convinced of all of these promises. He began to lay down with them, and they began to lie down with him. Because they looked forward to a future that was promised by him. As the years went on,